Mary Begum has no second in truth. I am very lucky in this regard. She is less of a wife and more of a friend. To tell the truth, even 4 wives like him are not a headache. Yet I have never desired 4 wives. I pray for his long life. Nowadays she is sick. There is no dearth of servants in the house, yet she does all my work herself. Seeing that bill, his surprise was natural. A question arises in the mind. The same question also arose in my Begum's mind. The story of this bill can be related to a beloved. Begum brought tea and went and lay on the bed. I picked up a cup of tea and went to my study room and started reading the story of my life, which I wrote like a story. I still don't understand whether this love is the last thing. All the women that have come into my life, I have never touched anyone by myself. Nowadays people touch the body first and make love later, I don't know. Is it love or something else? Love is claimed. I or all the women who have loved me are writing on my mind today with their own memories. Sometimes the thought of one is knocking on the mind and sometimes of the other. Like the strings of a kite, all the strings of love are tangled with each other. At least I could not know when the love story begins and where it ends. Maybe love is like a thought that comes into your mind and is gone the next moment. Similarly, when love comes in life and when it goes away, you never know. We humans are also very forgetful. We have conditioned love with bodies. Although love is the name of emotions. Now the question arises that if love is the name of emotions, then why love goes away from life when a person leaves and why love comes when someone is found. Today I introduce you to all the kites that flew on the horizon of love, then were either cut off or stolen away by someone else. Their strings are with me in the form of memories. Me and Nabil are best friends since childhood. We were not traditional pigeon fanciers. Despite this, both of us were holding pigeons. Nabil was good at reading but his logic was beyond my understanding at that time. Neither he wanted to work nor his family dairy business. He took his own decisions, started a spare parts business and also continued his private education. We used to sit on the roof every night and talk about our love affairs. Our family didn't mind because we both used to sit on the roof. Nabil used to come straight home from the lorry base after closing his spare parts shop. I was his only friend and he was mine. Nabil wanted to marry Farzana, the daughter of his distant uncle, and I called Sania, whom I affectionately called Dil Adal Sani. Once I called him Sani in front of Sania and Sania. Mary Begum has no second in truth. I am very lucky in this regard. She is less of a wife and more of a friend. To tell the truth, even 4 wives like him are not a headache. Yet I have never desired 4 wives. I pray for his long life. Nowadays she is sick. There is no dearth of servants in the house, yet she does all my work herself. Seeing that bill, his surprise was natural. A question arises in the mind. The same question also arose in my Begum's mind. The story of this bill can be related to a beloved. Begum brought tea and went and lay on the bed. I picked up a cup of tea and went to my study room and started reading the story of my life, which I wrote like a story. I still don't understand whether this love is the last thing. All the women that have come into my life, I have never touched anyone by myself. Nowadays people touch the body first and make love later, I don't know. Is it love or something else? Love is claimed. I or all the women who have loved me are writing on my mind today with their own memories. Sometimes the thought of one is knocking on the mind and sometimes of the other. Like the strings of a kite, all the strings of love are tangled with each other. At least I could not know when the love story begins and where it ends. Maybe love is like a thought that comes into your mind and is gone the next moment. Similarly, when love comes in life and when it goes away, you never know. We humans are also very forgetful. We have conditioned love with bodies. Although love is the name of emotions. Now the question arises that if love is the name of emotions, then why love goes away from life when a person leaves and why love comes when someone is found. Today I introduce you to all the kites that flew on the horizon of love, then were either cut off or stolen away by someone else. Their strings are with me in the form of memories. Me and Nabil are best friends since childhood. We were not traditional pigeon fanciers. Despite this, both of us were holding pigeons. Nabil was good at reading, but his logic was beyond my understanding at that time. Neither he wanted to work nor his family dairy business. He took his own decisions, started a spare parts business and also continued his private education. We used to sit on the roof every night and talk about our love affairs. Our family didn't mind because we both used to sit on the roof. Nabil used to come straight home from the lorry base after closing his spare parts shop. I was his only friend and he was mine. Nabil wanted to marry Farzana, the daughter of his distant uncle, and I called Sania, whom I affectionately called Dil. Hi Dilmi Sani. Once I called him Sani in front of Sania and Sania scolded me. My name is Sania Tullet. Be careful whoever takes my name backwards. After that he never had the courage to call him Sani in front of Sania. Nabil's family was small. His elder brother Khalil, who owned the family dairy shop, lived in a separate house nearby. In Nabil's house, apart from his mother and father, there was his younger sister Aliyah, who was affectionately called Aliyah. Ali used to bring us a bowl of hot milk on the terrace every night. Sania Tullet, my cousin, thin, fair-skinned, but attractive, proud and arrogant, always spoke bitterly, yet I liked her. I heard it from my grandmother once in my childhood. The pairing of Sania and Miraz will look great. Only after that she was my queen and I was her king. Auntie used to come to Lahore with her children every year during summer or December holidays. Kalo also had many relatives in Lahore. One year when Aunt came to our house, grandmother was also alive. Sania was absently drawing straight lines with a ballpoint pen on a copy of my rough pink paper, sitting next to Nanny. When Sania was called by Aunt Atiya, she got up and left. As soon as Sania left, I tore that paper from my copy and kept it with me. I still have that 24-year-old paper. Along with this, an essay called Ashiana, which he had written to my younger sister. My sister finished her homework after seeing it and put that essay in the trash. From where I picked him up and kept him safe. Which I have put in the photo album called S. The question must have arisen in your mind, why the name of the album S? It's a simple thing, from Sa to Sania, everything related to Sania that I got, I have managed even today. It was the month of July. After light rain, the intensity of heat had decreased. About half an hour before Maghrib Adhan, I reached the roof of my house with the purpose of feeding the pigeons shared by me and Nabil. The roofs of our house and Nabil's house were side by side. The pigeon coop was on Nabil's roof. Can I see Sania standing from our roof watching the pigeons? She appeared to me alone. Dil said, Mera's son, the opportunity is good, what you have to say it quickly. I dared to speak my heart to Sania. I have loved you since childhood and I want to marry you. Sania looked at me from top to bottom as if she were saying this is a mouth and lentils. She looked at me angrily and left without saying anything. Sania's brother was standing behind the pigeon hole, which I was unaware of. He came in front of me after Sania left. He also looked at me like a hungry wolf looks at barrassing. He also left with a grumbling in his mouth. At that time, it came to my mind that Sania's brother had also quarreled with his family members and had arranged a love marriage outside the family. He should have guessed my feeling. After all, only one lover can understand the pain of another lover. Still, he was very angry with me. Sania's brother was right. If I were in his place and someone showed love to my sister like that, I would have played that lover's band. If we love ourselves, then it is pure. If someone else does it, then it is impure. Our love is love and the love of others is love. My expression of love wasn't overly romantic, but it wasn't cheesy or sloppy either. A 21-year-old boy who is in love with a girl for the first time in his life would do something like I did. During the December holidays, Aunt Aisha came to Lahore with her children for a wedding. After marriage she also stayed in our house for 2 days. I thought I expressed my love in July, now it's December. Perhaps the lamp of love for me has been lit in Sonia's heart. The next day, Aunt was returning to Multan by train. I was also a number one brat. Despite July's respect, I wanted to hear Sonia's answer first before she left. I consulted Nabil, who to me was an all-rounder in the game of love at that time. You should place Sonia's picture and rose bud in front of her. If he picks up his picture, he doesn't love you. If she left her picture, she loves you too. Nabil advised me. You didn't tell me about the rose bud, I asked, making a forgetful face. Nabil looked at me with ravenous eyes and gritted his teeth and said, May Allah give you a rosebud on your face. You are really worthless. Nabil wanted to say more. But I hit his foot with my foot. Ali came to the roof from the stairs carrying 2 bowls of milk in a tray from the front. I had a group photo of Sonia. I kicked everyone out of the group except Sonia, #. On that day, Sonia's health was bad. Mother and Abu had gone to the feast of Sonia's family, Aunt Asia. My 2 younger sisters and Sonia were the only ones at home. The next day they were to return to Multan, so I wanted to talk to Sonia at all costs, but my sisters were by her side like a shadow. Disappointed, I went to the roof. I was lost in my thoughts. Maruz. I looked back and saw that Ali was standing there looking a little scared. I looked at her hands. One hand was empty and the other behind the back. Ali always had something to eat or drink in her hand whenever she came in front of me. That day she was empty-handed. What is? I asked impatiently. She remained silent. I could see some tension on his face as if he was in pain. Stomach ache? Ali looked at me in surprise, but said nothing. Then she bowed her neck and started to leave. As she turned, I saw a rose bud in her left hand. Wait. She stopped. I remembered Nabil's words. I thought for a few moments, then I took the rose bud from Ali's hand. Ali looked at me with protesting eyes. I was engrossed in my own tune and said, Please do me a task, Ali. I have to talk to Sonia. You take Harim and Tarim to your house. Ali stood up after hearing this. There was confusion on his face. My heart was praying that Ali would somehow agree. Ali's throat was strained. She wanted to say something, then she changed her mind and just said, Okay, yes. Her voice was hoarse. She turned and went down the stairs of our house. After a while she came to the terrace with Harim and Tarim and started descending the stairs of her house. She turned, opened and closed the paw of her right hand twice, and mouthed a minute. I understand that I have 10 minutes. I quickly ran downstairs. #. I reached my room holding the rose bud I took from Ali where Sonia was lying on my bed. Instead of being angry with him, I fell in love with him. None of my family was allowed to sleep in my room. As soon as Sonia saw me, she sat up in anger. What nonsense did you do during the summer holidays? If you were not our cousin. Why? I asked in a harsh tone, interrupting Sonia's words. Sonia kept looking at me for a few moments, then she said sternly, What you told me then. Sajjal's love marriage took place without saying anything. If there is love, it is expressed. Ever since Sonia regained consciousness, she only thought of you, wanted you, and only saw you whether her eyes were closed or open. I can't tell you how much I love you, so don't tell me which one I asked. Open your ears and listen. I don't love you, Sonia replied bluntly. Why is there no love? What is so special about you? Sonia looked at me with her father's eyes. She proved by her style that she is the daughter of a thander. I fell into thinking. Why was my picture stolen from the album? Sonia said as if she was mocking the theft. I kept Sonia's photo in my pocket. I took it out and walked closer to Sonia. He placed the picture in front of her and put a rose bud on it and left the room quickly. Ali was standing outside the window of the room. I hurried towards the stairs without seeing her. Hashtag. I was sitting on the roof feeling depressed. My eyes were fixed on the stairs leading up from the bottom. Someone came up after half an hour with a smile on her lips. In his right hand was a wrapped paper and in his left hand was the same rose bud that I took from him and presented to Sonia. Why did you bring this? I asked desperately. Kiaji. Ali said with satisfaction. This rose bud was lying on the door frame, Ali said, smelling the bud, and started descending the stairs of her house. Harem, where are Tarim Hai? Dil tu pagal hai, Ali replied. I looked at her in surprise. She started smiling and said, Dil tu pagal hai. Film, why did you show them the film? I asked bitterly. You should have spoken to Sonia. How would she stop both of them at her home? Ali did not think it appropriate to answer me and went downstairs. Hashtag. Ami was sitting on the couch and sewing. I ate 2 gulab jamans, a chum-chum and a juice from the sweet box while sitting by my mother. I had just put a block of ice cream in my mouth when Ami happily told me, Sonia is engaged. As soon as I heard this, I smelled a snake. Auntie. Assalamu alaikum. Ali came to our yard on the roof and stood in front of Amiji. He had a boat in his hand. Whenever there was a news break in our house or about to happen, Ali would come from nowhere. I never understood how Ali got the news. What's in your hand, Ali? Ami asked. Kier hai chachi ji. I was very fond of sweets, but at that time I was finding sweets to be poison. Already that block of ice was stuck in my throat like a bone. As soon as I heard this, my heart wanted to do it. I quickly went to the room and found Grandma sitting in front. Nanny quickly spread her arms. I cried a lot on my grandmother's chest. Nanny had just returned from Multan today. After making me shut up, Nanny said, Maros, let's go to the township with me. I have to deliver Sonia's engagement sweets to your aunt. Nanny was worried about the sweets and I was sad now. So, Sonia became prey. I have found a very sweet girl for you. Nanny tenderly placed her hand on my cheek and told me this good news. I looked at Nanny with strange eyes. She smiled and said, Apni Bisma. Basma. I said in surprise. Bisma was my younger Aunt Asia's daughter. I used to call the younger aunt as Massi instead of aunt according to her wish. Massi was such a cute word. Massi means mother. Strange time has come now in big cities. The worker is called Massi. Those people lived in the township. Our approach to them was less, the reason being our poverty. Kalu was a lawyer and also had a joint business with his brothers. Aunts rarely wanted to interact with us. I took his bike from Nabil. Nanny poured petrol in it. I and Nanny reached the township with Sonia's engagement sweets. It was winter and on a Sunday, my aunt was sitting on the terrace knitting a sweater for her grandson. Me and Nanny went to the roof. After a while, Bisma, dressed in black, arrived carrying a tray of tea. In those days Basma's complexion was whiter than butter. Bright forehead, eyes with thick red lines, bright face, long neck, shining teeth, black hair like the Black Knight of Savin. In that period, no girl in the whole family was as beautiful as Basma. She was as beautiful as Basma. Good manners too. He would laugh at each other. When she laughed, she used to have a dimple on one side of her cheek. "Mars chai," Bisma had said while placing a cup of tea in front of me. I took the cup from his hand and looked at him carefully. She was also looking at me carefully. The little red nails on Bisma's white cheeks were from Maha. As is often the case with young girls. After finishing the tea, Grandma and Massi went to visit a patient. Bisma was the only sister of 4 brothers. 2 elder and 2 younger. The eldest had gone to his in-laws with his begum. The younger one used to be in Qatar, and the 2 younger ones than Bisma had gone to play cricket matches and Kalo Sahib to his friends. After Nani and Massi left, Bisma and I were alone at home. 2 feet away, Bisma was sitting confidently on the chair in front of me. "You have a big heart. Sharing sweets on your own after losing your love." Love. I got a shock after hearing Bisma's words. I thought to myself that only a few months ago, I had expressed my silent love to Sonia for the first time in my life. No one except Sonia and her brother knew where she got the news from. "Where are you lost?" Bisma snapped, breaking my train of thought. "Who told you?" "Everyone knows." Bisma replied, leaning on the back of the chair. "My wounds are green again." My face became pale. Despite the effort, I could not stop the wrinkles of defeat from appearing on my forehead. My silent love was not covered by Bisma. "Mars, Sonia never loved you. She often made fun of you and I used to get very angry with her." I looked at Bisma with tearful eyes. Bisma had a deadly smile on her face. "I am telling the truth." Bisma's pink lips were again smiling. I was getting the impression from his attitude that it was no big deal. "By the way, there's one thing, you're true, my love. You've never seen anyone except Sonia." "Who? Who are you talking about?" I asked in a rough tone. Bisma's musical voice stopped coming. She was a bit nervous. She who was talking to me with great confidence a few moments ago suddenly smelled a snake. She got up and went inside the single room on the roof and stood there looking at the tank. I was suffering from anxiety. "What is the matter?" I got up from my place and went towards Bisma. She was looking at me. As I walked across the room and stood in front of him, he rolled his eyes. His breath was coming fast and he smelled very strong. I could not understand his concern. As soon as I raised my hand to place her on her shoulder to reassure her, she took 2 steps back. "I have been yours since childhood," Bisma said, looking at me with eyes wide. I fell in love with my cousin in an instant. Grandma's words echoed in my ears. "I have found a very lovely girl for you." Behind Nanny's voice, a voice reached my ears. "I love you." It was not in my power to control my heart, but still I do not consider myself helpless. "You can't touch me before our marriage." Bisma, along with the declaration of love, had given me an order to stay away from me while explaining her powers. Hearing this, my heart jumped. He who was doing this while sitting in the street of Multan, he came to the township slipping and sliding. Now the township instead of Multan was sacred to me. Within minutes my heart changed sides. "You go from here. Someone will come." Bisma gave the next order with great delicacy. "Why should I go? There is no thief in my heart," I said confusedly. "Please, for my sake. I will be disgraced if anyone sees us together in the room." There was truth in Bisma's voice. I stared at him. She was truly no less than a nymph. When I started to leave the room, one of Bisma's sentences stopped my steps. "I prayed a lot that you don't get married to Sonia." I turned around and saw Bisma, whose face was confident. "If you don't marry me, I will die." My face opened. The ointment of love was applied to the wounds of the heart in such a way that no trace was left. After returning from the township, Nanny came to my room at night. She wanted to apply ointment on my wounds. Now if anyone told Nanny, the wounds were already filled by a nymph. Mara's son. I explained to your aunt that Mirz is a very good boy. Tullet and Sonia liked that boy a lot. To Sonia. Yes. Tullet's cousin's son is a property dealer. Sonia also liked him. Sonia didn't have to say anything. Tullet asked Sonia, she immediately agreed. Someone gets love without asking for it, and someone remains empty-handed even after asking for it. I said to Nanny in a very poetic way. Mobile was not common in those days, but PTCL number was definitely supported, which was already present in Bisma's house. I did not have this facility either. There was a telephone at Tayaji and Nabil's house, but it was locked in a wooden box, on which there was always a lock. The key of the telephone that was in Nabil's house was in the pocket of Nabil's father. The key of the phone that was in Taya's house was tied with Taya's bird. Calling from there was like taking meat from the mouth of a hungry lion. Therefore, the PCO had to be called. PCOs were also very cruel and used to take double money from lovers. One used to listen to the lovers talk with his ear and kept smiling slowly. When it came to money, he would immediately put his eyes on his forehead. By calling Bisma from PCO, I was deeply in debt. He had taken a loan of several thousand rupees from Nabil and Arifa. Borrowed from both of them and went straight to PCO. At first my mother would not answer the phone. Massi would become dense even knowingly and shout the wrong number loudly. This would have been a signal for Bisma. There was a daughter-in-law in Massi's house, with whom Massi was careful. Massi and Nanny were fully aware of the growing love between me and Bisma. Massi also wanted me and Bisma to have a relationship. I used to miss any opportunity to see Bisma, yet the thirst of my eyes was not quenched. Many times I went from Galmandi on a bicycle early to meet him outside Bisma's college on Township College Road. The meeting could not take place, only seeing him. Basma's aunt's daughter Sundus and two girls from her neighborhood studied with her, all of whom knew me well. With 6 eyes, I could do only 4 eyes. As soon as they were done, I would grab my bicycle and return with the speed of a bullet to my technical college located on the railway road. In the process of making eye contact with Bisma, my studies were going crazy. Often I was barred from entering the class for being late. May Allah bless Sundus, the daughter of Bisma's maternal aunt, who did not let my education get in the way and put this in my Aunt Asia's ear. The next day, as soon as I called my aunt's house, she answered the call. Hello. I remained silent even after hearing the voice of my aunt. From the other side of Massi's voice came again in a whisper. Maro's son, don't come to Bisma's college. Auntie just said this and hung up the phone. Auntie's words were more than orders for me. Why not? One was like her mother and the other was Bisma's mother. I stopped going to Bisma's college. Then one day, Auntie gave another order on the phone that from now on only you can call Bisma on Sundays between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. I put a stone on my heart and accepted this order of my aunt. I don't know what I had to do to meet Bisma. One's wedding card, one's goods to be taken to the township, MIRZASAIF was always available 24/7. During the days when I was blinded by Bisma, one day I was feeding my pigeons on the roof. Have sweets. I turned around and Nabil was standing behind me, with a plate of sweets in his hand. You didn't go to the shop today, I asked while picking up a block of ice cream from the plate. Today was the engagement of His Highness. Well, where is? In Gujranwala, there is a boys' dairy shop. Sister-in-law Sugra and Khalil Bai came for the engagement. I asked. Nabil replied. Abba Ji had celebrated. I was aware of their family discord so did not talk further. Khalil Bhai wanted to establish a relationship with his brother-in-law Zafar, which Nabil was not in favor of. We both started thinking something while eating sweets. You didn't ask about the boy. I was shocked while eating the sweets. If you have a relationship, it will be good. Ali should not have been born in the house of Gujars. I smiled after listening to Nabil. Before I could say anything, I saw a plate Ali also come on the raised roof, and as soon as he came, he gave a message to Nabil. Abba Ji is calling brother. Nabil quickly went downstairs. Congratulations, Highness. Congratulations, what's the matter? Ali asked bitterly. You are engaged. Marriage will not happen. Ali looked at me with complaining eyes and said this. She went down the stairs of our house. She was beautiful to look at. She was always wrapped in a big blanket. She always came first in her class till matriculation, but she did not take admission in college. I never asked Nabil, nor did he tell me. I had never seen him bareheaded. I believe veil does not hide a woman's beauty but enhances it. The more clothed a woman is, the more attractive she will look. Something similar was the case with Ali. She used to be lost in her thoughts or busy with household chores. Shant Gum Sim was surprised to hear her answer that day. He began to pour grain. Aisha. You should also get engaged to Miraz. When I heard this, my heart started pounding. Mother. Where should I get engaged? Ami took Nanny's words lightly. Nanny looked at me and asked. Maruz. Get engaged to Bisma. Before I said something, Mom quickly spoke. Mommy. Don't say it in front of brother Rashid. Baji, who sometimes meets us, will also be banned by Rashid Bhai. I know Rashid and his father too. Who is the banning person? You speak your mind. Do you like the girl or not? Nanny finished speaking. Mother looked at me with questioning eyes. As you wish. I said dryly, being ignorant. Mother. Let me ask Maro's father. Mother tried to avoid Nanny. I have asked, he has no objection, said Nanny to fit. Ami looked at Nanny in surprise. After all, she was my mother's mother. Didn't say. I've asked. Ami didn't know what she wanted to say, but she couldn't say it to Nanny. Nanny then turned to me and said. Maruz, you bring a motorcycle from Nabil and leave the township today. As soon as I get a suitable time, I talk to Rashid and Asiya. I reached the township with Nanny in full preparation. Kalo Rashid was at home due to ill health. Kalo's health had improved a bit. Seeing him at home, my health must have worsened. Not even for a moment did Kalo let me out of her sight. I could only see Bisma's hands and feet. Staying at Bisma's house in Kala's presence was pointless. I thought it best to get up respectfully before Auntie asked me to go back myself. Nanny Amna Bibi was also a heavenly soul. She was the elder of the family after the death of her maternal grandfather. Most family decisions are made by the grandmother. Nanny's 3 daughters used to address her as Maji and all other relatives as BBG. Nanny was Abu Ji's great-aunt as well as great-aunt. Both my grandfather and my maternal grandfather were brothers. My maternal grandfather was a retired subedar from the army. Nana had married all 3 of his daughters in his lifetime. Kala Tulit was Thanadar and Kala Rashid was lawyer. The birth of both was the fruit of birth. When Mom and Dad got married, Grandpa had a big clothes shop in Azam Market and our situation was the best in the family. At that time Abu had shot a boy in a quarrel, then half of the earnings were eaten by the Thanadar and the other half by the lawyer. I am not talking about Kala Tulit, Kala Rashid, these gentlemen were others. Dada died of shock. The clothing store turned into a taps and buttons store. Our house was divided. Taya Sajid and Aunt Sarah always blamed Abu for all this. He was right to a certain extent. Our family was sold. We came to rent. Taya was called Sadia by her brother-in-law. Soon, Sajid started progressing and the conditions of his house improved. Taya built 2 houses with Saudi earnings. One was in very good condition and the other was a fraud in the name of the house. That cheater gave us rent to live in. Abu was grateful to Tayaji for this too, and Ami was even more grateful to him. Tayaji had 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons. He had married his elder daughter. Arifa's engagement to her sister-in-law's son had also taken place in the same house. I was very fond of Arifa even though she was a year older than me. Fufu Nasaira lived in Sabi, she was childless. She used to come to Lahore only occasionally after years. #Maruz. I have to close the shop and you take your mother to the hospital. A healthy rickshaw will be expensive. Where will you push the Vespa in the wagons? Before Abu said, bring your aunt's Vespa, I quickly spoke to myself. Abo. I bring Nabil's bike. I would never take a second glance at Taiji. It was better to ask Nabil for a motorcycle instead of a Vespa than listening to Taiji's rant. On reaching the hospital, the grandmother's condition was much better. Ami was also relieved to see her mother. My longing eyes were looking around for someone. Nanny and Massi sensed my anxiety. My aunt went out with my mother and my grandmother forgot her pain and immediately addressed me. You are late. She came straight from college. She has just left. She will come tomorrow after college. Pray that I don't get leave till tomorrow. Nanny told the whole news like an innocent child. Nanny was more sorry than me for not meeting Bisma. Today, when I remember my grandmother, I feel love even for her innocent words. I took leave from my college the next day to meet Bisma. Put on my best pants, shirt and coat which were all given to me as gifts. Decided to go to CMH by bike instead of bicycle. When he reached Nabil's shop to ask for the bike, he found that both the bike and Nabil were missing from the shop. So nice pants, shirt, top coat, Casio digital watch in hand. I would like to ride a bicycle. An idea came to my heart, and when I put my hand in my pocket, only 40 rupees came out. Arifa remembered. Arifa, my aunt's daughter, had only 2 hobbies, good clothes and good food. She had become quite fat after eating but still looked good. Gori chitta around, unable to study at once, after failing matriculation 3 times, he himself said that education is God's salvation. When he reached Taya's house, Tayatai had already gone to Arifa's in-laws. They were called by Arifa's fiancé Tanvir. Arifa was also stunned to see my smile. Oh! Mean man, how are you? Arifa said as soon as she opened the door of the house. Tai is at home. Come on, come on. There is no one at home, Arifa said while going inside. I followed him. I explained the reason for coming as I walked. That Arifa. I wanted to borrow 200 rupees. How many are there before? Arifa stopped and asked with fun. 1900. I told her with a fit. Arifa started smiling and said. Oh, you are honest. After saying this, she went to the room and brought 200 rupees and placed it on my palm. I rolled up the sleeves of my coat and showed him the watch he had given me. She smiled. I quickly turned around. His voice fell in my ears. Oh! Today, where are you going to stay so? To meet CMH Bisma. I answered as I walked without looking at Arifa. Of the 240 rupees, 7 rupees were charged as rent. After changing 2 wagons, I reached the hospital and grandmother was sleeping. My aunt saw me and said, Mara's son. You sit near Maji, I will come after praying. Massi went to pray. A few minutes later a nurse came and addressed me. Where has Baji gone? My aunt has gone to pray. Well, do that. These are 2 injections. Currently they are not available in our stock and they are yet to be installed. You bring it from outside. The nurse put a slip in my hand. I looked at the nurse worriedly. You get the injection, I'm right here, no need to worry. I got those 2 injections from the pharmacy. When he asked for the bill, the elderly man sitting at the counter, looking over his glasses, said, 230 rupees. I took out 230 rupees from my pocket and handed it to him and ran back to the ward. 3 coins lying in my coat pocket were bouncing and hitting each other. When he came back, it was 2:30. In CMH, relatives can visit their patients for 2 to 4 hours. Nanny was sitting leaning on the back of the bed. Bisma was giving Nanny cold water and her cousin and friend were relishing mango juice with straws in their mouths. Seeing Bisma, my heart beat faster. Bisma also looked at me with a smile. I walked towards them. Bisma cleaned Nanny's mouth and placed the iced tiffin box on the side table. Mera's brother. Assalam alaikum, said Bisma's friend Nida. He had a smile on his face. However, Bisma's cousin Sundus was not so good. The nurse rushed to me as soon as she saw me. Bring the injection. I did not answer and put the packet in front of him. She watched the injections carefully, then began to inject them with the help of a syringe into Nanny's drip. By this time my aunt had also returned. Your injections haven't come yet? Auntie asked the nurse with a restrained tone. If you had come, why did you ask? Baji. Baji rushed to reduce. The nurse said to Masi while making a face. Basma. Let him stay with me. You 3 go outside and sit on the lawn. Auntie, I will also go with them. Sundus replied simply. Okay, you 2 go. Sundus was the first to go outside. She was followed by Nada, then Bisma, and the last one was me. Listen to Meraz. I stopped at my aunt's voice. Masi took out some hundred notes from her purse and walked towards me. Sundus was standing behind me before Masi. Maruz, keep this money. Why are you giving this? I immediately asked. Injections would have come at 250. Auntie, she looks like a grandmother too, he commented. Which Meraz earns now? Meraz does not earn, his father earns. From that day all expenses are being paid by my uncle. Sundus has opened a new Pandora. Masi's facial features changed. Before she could say anything to Sundus, Bisma hurried to Nanny's bed and picked up Nanny's purse and showed it to Sundus and said, Nanny is the widow of a subadar. They are being treated free of charge. If something is a little too expensive, it is done by the grandmother herself. Grandmothers are not a burden on us, nor on our other daughters nor on our sons-in-law. Don't tell the girls, go outside and do the calculations. Our job is a problem. A senior nurse said humbly. Masi gave Bisma a wink. Bisma drinks her anger and takes everyone out. Outside, the 4 of us were watching each other like owls during the day. I'm very hungry. Sundus broke the silence. Me too. Nada also held her stomach and said. Bisma stared at Nida. Why are you looking at him with tears in your eyes? What is breakfast? Drinking a box of juice fills the stomach a little. Before Bisma could say anything, Sundus had narrated the whole situation himself. Okay, we will have something to eat after going home. Nida had killed her hunger for Bisma's sake. I secretly looked at Bisma, who was already looking at me. Sundus's eyes were watching us like a deer. I remember studying in matriculation. Our headmaster Yusuf Sahib was a very good man. He used to teach matriculation students free of cost in the school building every year before the commencement of board exams. Our matriculation exam used to last for a week. It was a cold February night. After teaching mathematics, before the leave, Master Saheb recited to us some Punjabi poems written by himself, in which here Ranja was also mentioned. After reciting the poem, Sir asked, "What do you think about Kidu?" Sir would point at each boy with his stick. He would quickly get up from his seat and express his thoughts about being in one sentence and then sit down. Kido was very disrespectful. Sir. He also used to smoke cannabis. Sir G was the enemy of lovers. His behavior was not right, that's why he was not married. All the boys laughed along with the head. No boy was willing to give Kidu a certificate of good character. Who would give his girl to such a lame bangi? Whatever he did, I would have broken his other leg too, said a boy aggressively. Thankfully there was no kiddo. Seeing his anger, if Kidu was there at that time, my classmate would have done it. He was a killer of lovers. That's right, sir. He was Sidia, villain, said the guy sitting next to me. Sir swung his rod at me like a snare on prey. I stood up. The head instructed me to speak with the eyes. Sir. To me Kidu was a jealous person. All the boys in the class turned their necks and looked at me with devouring eyes. Some had blood in their eyes as if it was a matter of their honor. I nervously looked at Sirji, who was looking at me seriously. Sir addressed me and asked, "Just, or do you want to say something else?" "No, sir, I have a lot to say," I replied with a broad chest. The head again beckoned me to speak with his eyes. Her Kidu's house was respected. How can any honorable man tolerate a servant, flirting with his master's daughter? If any of us were in Kidu's place, he would have done what Kidu did. Kidu is not the enemy of love, it is a symbol of honor. My arm was hit hard. I looked down and saw Sir G's stick lying in front of me. As soon as I looked up, Headmaster Yusuf Sahib was standing in front of me with embers in his eyes. He placed a strong slap on my cheek and said, "Vida Kidu de supporter. If someone poisons me at this time, I will eat that too." Sundus had also described the last limit of the intensity of his hunger. "Basma, I bring something from the canteen." Nita thought this was the only solution to shut Sundus' mouth. Basma also gave her consent silently. "I don't want to eat anything from the canteen." "How many days does it last?" Sundus made a face like a stubborn child and said to me, "Mera's brother. Nada will feel good bringing something while you are there, what?" Was it a joke of Sundus or a question? I didn't understand anything at that time. "What do you want?" Nida asked impatiently. "There is Rahat Bakery nearby, let's go there, shall we?" They come from there after eating something. He revealed the intentions of his heart. "Your mind is fine. Grandma is sick inside. We have come to take care of them and we are waiting for you. I have seen Bisma angry only once in my life, and that day. Tell me the food you want from Rahat Bakery, we will order it here." Nida hastily presented her suggestion, which Bisma did not like at all. Bisma cast a sharp look at Nida. "That's right." Sundus gave his consent while pinching, as well as the food he had said. "I will eat a burger." "Me too." Nida also agreed with Sundus's yes. Bisma looked at me questioningly. I can't forget seeing him till today. In which there were questions, apologies, compulsions, and above all, love. "What are you going to eat?" I also asked Alfit. "What you will feed." Bisma spoke sparingly. But his eyes were generous that day. They looked at me and I couldn't even do that. I was afraid of Sundus. But Bisma's fear was over. According to Nabil, Lilo was also unfit in love. Let's go get the money. Sundus' voice drew Bisma's attention. Nida had put her hand in her purse when Bisma asked the fit. Why money? Sundus looked at Bisma in surprise. Maro's by, which one is he earning now? Sundus said with emphasis on each word. Even if I don't earn. You can eat burgers. Bisma answered Sundus with great pride. I looked into Bisma's eyes. She spoke a lot with her eyes. I am Maro's Majid today, a successful businessman, but years ago it was not like that. I was very simply married at the age of 22, just out of college. There are 2 younger sisters who are married and both are happy in their homes. Abu died a few years ago. Ami lives with me. Earlier we used to have 5 people living in a small house in Gwalmandi, and today only 5 people live in a big bungalow in Defense. Mom, me, my Begum and my twin sons Jodan and Rayhan. Jodan had a tendency towards business. He looks after our business at the Hafiz Center. And Rayhan is good at reading, so he studies in the university. I was tired of reading. I opened the study room window. The light in Rayhan's room was burning. I left the study room and walked towards Rayhan's room. I knocked on the door of Rayhan's room. Come on, Papa. I entered the room. Rayhan took his eyes off the laptop and looked at me. Who are you talking to? I asked while sitting next to him. From Malaika. He said while holding the laptop in front of me. How are you, Uncle? Malaika showed warmth even after 12 o'clock in the night. Malaika and Rayhan are classmates in the university and they both belong to the same group. While I was speaking before that, Malaika asked the next question. Uncle, you haven't slept yet? I was in my study room. Your story is not complete yet? Malaika asked in surprise. Doing proofreading. I thought it best to get up before Malaika asked about my story again today. I left Rayhan's room and went to my study room and sat down again with the draft of my story.